Hey people of this beautiful world, welcome back to Angelic Embrace, where we document and narrate the glorious and life-changing near-death experiences sent in by you guys. It is greatly appreciated. So sit back, relax, know that you are loved, and let's get into today's near-death experience story. Consider subscribing and watching to the end to find out what happens. I suffered a severe heart attack around 10:30 p.m. on the 10th of January, 2021, which was a Sunday. After being transported to the hospital, I was made to lie down on a table there. My chest and back were covered with monitor stickers and defibrillator stickers by the medical staff. I was suddenly overcome with exhaustion, and despite my best efforts, I was unable to keep my eyes open. My eyes closed like I was ready to sleep a really heavy slumber. I recall standing there gazing at my bare feet as soon as my eyes closed, and then they closed completely. I was standing on a set of golden stairs that measured around 30 feet in length, 3.5 feet wide, and had rails at either end. There were perhaps 4 or 5 golden stairs. They descended into a beautiful garden. When I was at this point, I recall thinking to myself that the discomfort in my chest had subsided and that I was in a really pleasant mood. It was almost identical to an ideal state of emptiness. When I looked up, I noticed a crescent-shaped line of enormous trees that was around 200 yards distant from where I was standing. There was a white color to the bark of the trees. The leaves were pink, and the trees had gold lace coming out of the tops of their heads and falling down below them. The lace had gold stars embedded in it. When I looked up, the sky was pink, and I looked for birds in the sky because I wanted to see things that were familiar to me. There were not any birds in sight. As I looked closer, I could make out grass in the garden. Once more, looking for things that were already known to me. Although there was no grass, I could see the gold lace in the distance. The pink leaves, the twigs and branches that had fallen from the tree, and a substance that looked like steel wool were on the ground, and there was light emerging from the ground. When I was walking about with my feet exposed at the time, I thought to myself, how could something that looks like steel wool not be scratchy? I was about to stroll down these steps and through this garden, so I realized it couldn't possibly be the reason. I recall turning to my left and being unable to look behind me. However, I turned to my left as far as I could and thought about my life, including all of the people in my life, the things in my life, my achievements, and my shortcomings. At this moment in my life, none of the things that had occurred to me in the past mattered since I wasn't there anymore. Instead, I was standing on these steps, getting ready to descend into this garden. I reflected on the individuals that I had known and loved, and at that moment, I realized that they, too, would need to experience the ups and downs of life and face the challenges that are unique to them. I prayed for them. They would get here, where I was, at some point in the future. I turned once again and glanced down into the garden, and immediately got the need to go down there and explore it. When I came to, a doctor was shaking my shoulder, asking if I was okay, and informing me that my heart had stopped beating. At that time, I had passed out. A few months later, I went to an appointment with my doctor and asked him what had happened during this period of time and for how long my heart had stopped beating. He told me that my heart had stopped beating for a whole minute when I was having that experience. After a few days had passed, I was relaxing at home when I decided to utilize the stopwatch app on my phone and reflect on everything that had transpired during my near-death experience. When I finally stopped the stopwatch, the amount of time that had elapsed was exactly 1 minute and 1 second. Since the day that thing happened to me, I have been sharing my tale with various individuals on a daily basis. The majority of individuals feel that it provides them reason to have optimism. I think that I have been extremely lucky to have had this experience. I also feel that if I had not become a Christian via the experience of being reborn, I would not have had this opportunity. Let's move on to the next near-death experience story. I was a patient in the hospital undergoing a surgery that included my heart. I went into code blue 3 times without a pulse and had to be resuscitated each time. The third time I went through this experience, I was granted a sensation of being that I can only compare to a trip to a realm where life is eternal. For many years, I had kept in my wallet a piece of fabric that had been touched at the burial of Fr. Solinus. It includes the final words he spoke. "I hand up my life to Jesus Christ," the man said. For many years, a prayer card addressed to Fr. Solinus has been kept on the dresser that belonged to my wife. The handing over of the favor as well as its reception. During the time period of February 19th to February 20th, I was given 3 revivals, as well as a visitation of my soul and a memory of the hereafter. When my heart stopped beating, I was sitting down in the intensive care unit, and I blacked out. My nose was fractured as a result of me hitting the floor face first. At no point did I have any awareness of the discomfort. In the beginning, my being had the quality of a harmonious flow. Without my body, I had the sensation of being encased in a sheet over a swimming pool. The sensation was one of being encased in a shroud with one's senses while spinning in a counterclockwise manner. My whole self started to feel like it was being filled with pleasure, elation, and the Holy Spirit as I became conscious of it. I recall that my shape had the need to wrap and hug everything, much like the balloon guy that is seen waving on in the actual world. I was conscious of the fact that I existed as a spirit but not in a physical body. The sensation of elation persisted during the rotation of an earthly ride known as the tilt-a-whirl or roundabout. Since I no longer had a physical body, my new form was able to move in and out, up and down, and in any direction it pleased, and it also had the ability to start and stop moving. There were 6 different motions that the soul would go through. 1 movements in a clockwise direction around a circle containing 12 gradations of gentle white energy, yet with a sense of being 2 after that. I continue to rotate clockwise while moving forward and backward along the horizontal plane towards the light energy. After that, I walk toward the lights on their sides, then back, and then toward the lights on their bottoms, with my back to the creatures of light. 6. The final motion was what I would refer to as a levitation or an ascension above the creatures of light, yet it took place while they were still in the spiritual world. I felt like I was flying and bouncing on a circle of energy that was harmonic, and there were 12 creatures of light surrounding the circle. After then, I became conscious of a landscape that seemed to go on forever, complete with a boundless horizon and a light resembling the northern lights. There was a clear perception of a universe that went on forever. After coming to this realization, a more reassuring message was conveyed to my being, which said, "You are not alone in the cosmos. Because you are the universe itself, you will never be alone yourself anywhere in the cosmos." The blessing of everlasting spirit was bestowed upon me, and the exhilaration of spirit's presence remained constant throughout my whole life. I had no previous education or experience in the subject of biomimetics, but I was given access to more sophisticated information about it. Because of this information, a gadget that generates renewable energy was able to be patented. To obtain this understanding, a translation from the spiritual symbolism into the physical design was necessary.